Hello. Hello. Hi. Welcome. How close do I get? Should I stand here and? Okay, thank you. All right. Welcome to our teach-in on the connection between the militarization of police, Israel, and APD. And it's sponsored by Jewish Voice for Peace, which has the Albuquerque chapter. Jewish Voice for Peace is a national organization calling for peace in the Middle East based on justice, freedom for all, equality for all. JVP does not take a position on whether the ultimate solution in the area between the Jordan and the Mediterranean should be one state or two states, but that it should be left up to the people there, but that absolutely there should be complete equality between the people, among the people living there. No preference for anybody based on religion, nationality, just complete human rights. And we are also, it is also sponsored by Friends of Seville North America, Albuquerque chapter. And I think I'll have Rita describe that. Rita, you want to?
It's a Christian organization out of Jerusalem that welcomes people of all faith or no faith. And so long as you have a moral commitment to a just and fair peace in the Middle East, and you want to work for that, then we welcome you to our group. I don't have anything else to say. But if you want to know more about that, come see me.
And our program tonight, and also JVP in coordination with Friends of Seville North America, Albuquerque chapter, and other organizations, is sponsoring a proposed proclamation for the Albuquerque City Council. We are asking the council to call on the federal government to withhold Albuquerque's share of federal tax dollars that are going to fund the Israeli military, and that's almost all of the $3.1 billion a year that goes to Israel, and spend Albuquerque's share, which amounts to about $9 million, right here where we need it. There is a petition. We are trying to get 1,000 signatures on the petition before we take it to City Council, and Stan Horties has it in his hand. He is about to start passing it around. If you haven't already signed it, we would appreciate it if you would. On tonight's program, we are trying to connect the increasing and disturbing American military presence inside our police forces. We've all been reading about the military equipment that APD is getting, so much that they're even turning some of it away. The military rifles they're purchasing. Many of us saw the military equipment that APD used on protesters this March. And it's common among American police departments that have this overload of military equipment. And it creates an atmosphere and an attitude. We have, and it's becoming American policy to do it, and Israel has always been a handmaiden of American policy, and it's a handmaiden of this policy, and we're going to connect some of those dots for how the U.S. is using Israel to turn this country into a military camp. We have a few speakers tonight. We have Mike Gomez, whose son Alan was killed by APD SWAT units. And we've specifically asked Mike, not just because he's a wonderful man and has a lot to say, but because his son in particular of the APD victims was killed by a militarized unit. And it ties in with what we want to talk about tonight. We'll also hear from Lynn Gottlieb, who is the former rabbi, founding rabbi and longtime rabbi of Congregation Nahalat Shalom, who is currently living and working in Oakland, California with the Fellowship of Reconciliation, who will talk to us about how Israel trained the Oakland police, and then a week later, Oakland police turned what they used loose on the Occupy demonstrators in Oakland. And later, because of the time difference, and if I can get Skype running, he asked that he not be put on until 8:30 our time, 5:30 his. We'll hear from Yotam Feldman by Skype. He's in Israel. Some of you may have seen the documentary, The Lab, about how Israel has a multi-billion-dollar arms industry. And it's primarily, of course they use it on Palestinians, but it's for export around the world. And a large part of what we're going to be talking about is how Israel exports weapons and methods around the world. And Yotam will be talking to us from I'm thinking his time, 5:30 to about 5:45 his time, be about 8:30 to 8:45, 10 to 9 our time. Before we start with speakers, Iris Keltz has a poem written by a Palestinian American woman. I mean, we'll do some updates on the situation in Gaza. I think Lynn Gottlieb has some information for us, and I'm sure some of you have information to share about that.
Empty chairs for people standing? Yeah.
Okay, there are 6 empty chairs here.
Two here.
This one, yeah. Come and sit. Come on up, don't be shy.
Okay, Iris?
You won't be called out.
Thank you all for coming tonight. It's wonderful to see everybody here. And I know we're also inundated and swamped with the news and the news stories. And I thought it would be nice to hear a poem, because never underestimate the power of words. And this poem was written by a Palestinian American named Lina Khalaf Tufaha, and it just kind of came across my desk as I was reading articles on the internet, and it is very powerful, and I think it's gone viral. Lots of people have seen it. The poem is called Running Orders. They call us now. Before they drop the bombs, the phone rings, and someone who knows my first name calls and says, in perfect Arabic, "This is David." And in my stupor of sonic booms and glass-shattering symphonies still smashing around in my head, I think, do I know any Davids in Gaza? They call us now to say, run. You have 58 seconds from the end of this message. Your house is next. They think of it as some kind of wartime courtesy. It doesn't matter that there is nowhere to run to. It means nothing that the borders are closed and your papers are worthless and mark you only for a life sentence in this prison by the sea, and the alleyways are narrow and there are more human lives packed one against the other, more than any other place on earth. Just run. We aren't trying to kill you. It doesn't matter that you can't call us back to tell us the people we claim to want aren't in your house, but there's no one here except you and your children who are cheering for Argentina, sharing the last loaf of bread for this week, counting candles left in case the power goes out. It doesn't matter that you have children. You live in the wrong place, and now is your chance to run to nowhere. It doesn't matter that 58 seconds isn't long enough to find your wedding album, or your son's favorite blanket, or your daughter's almost completed college application, or your shoes, or to gather everyone in the house. It doesn't matter what you had planned. It doesn't matter who you are. Prove you're human. Prove you stand on 2 legs. Run.
Alan Gomez was human. Alan Gomez was human. APD did not give him the opportunity to run. Mike? I introduce Alan's father, Mike Gomez.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank the organization for inviting me to speak. What I can say about what I've seen happening in Gaza that, relates to my family, to my heart, is when I see the camera on the people whose loved ones has been killed, have been blown away, and they're talking in a different language, but they're just saying the same thing my family was saying. Why? Why did this happen? They weren't doing anything. They were innocent, but yet they're dead. So when I look at those pictures of those people and I see them crying and I see their faces just grimacing, and I can just relate to them because that's the way I felt. And that's why our movement here for the past 3.5 years has been working on that for the citizens of Albuquerque, not to bring our kids back, but to make sure that we don't have to see any more families in Albuquerque with that look on their face, with those tears in their eyes, with that hole in their heart. Because it's something that you don't want anybody to go through. And when you see it on TV from thousands of miles away, like I've seen it on TV recently, it brings tears to my eyes again because I know how they feel. And that's why I've been working now for 3.5 years to hopefully make a difference. And it's just not me. I mean, when we first started, it was just a few of us. But you got to remember, just like over in the Middle East, it's been a culture that's been there for thousands of years, right? Of the fighting, of not understanding. And here in Albuquerque, when we started looking back, the culture goes back 30, 40, 50 years. And it hits in peaks, just like it does over there. All of a sudden, you're okay for a while, then all of a sudden it spikes. Then people start, out crying, and, you have different things happen, and it goes back down again. And right now, our organizations and the people of Albuquerque did something that none of the news people, none of the city government, none of the police thought was possible. We were able to get a third party in here to investigate Albuquerque, which is the Department of Justice. And that was something that was done by many people, many civil rights organizations, many homeless organizations, many, feed the hungry organizations. We all did it in different ways. And every person who contributed helped give a step forward in what we're trying to do here in Albuquerque, and that's to change the culture. And right now, they're negotiating, they're hopefully going to change, and we're still watching them. We have groups that are wanting to watch them. This new group called ABD Forward. We have, we have protesting groups. We have clergy groups. I mean, there's so many people that want a change. And the main thing is that we have to let the citizens of Albuquerque know who's, all of our lives are in a tunnel vision, right? We have our families, we have our own problems. I was the same way until my son died, all right? I didn't see what was going on. But I didn't have anybody out there, trying to tell me what was going on. Waving it in my face, being on the news all the time, And now we do. We have people out there who, when something happens, they're out there with their signs, they're out there on the news, they're letting people know that what's going on isn't right. Because it's a culture, right? So the people in Albuquerque for years has been used to people being killed right and left. They didn't know the statistics of that Albuquerque has more of a killing rate than New York City does per capita. I mean, 10 million people in New York City. Here, 500,000, maybe close to a million around the areas. So that's what we're here for. We're here to inform them, and we're here to let them know that the culture has been happening for a long time, and that we, the people, are going to do something about it. And that's why we need you folks to not go out and protest and not do all this stuff if you don't want to, but just tell your family members, and they'll tell their other family members. Remember the old saying, word of mouth is the best thing? Well, that's the way it works here too. Let the people know, at the dinner table, on the phone, what's going on. And, it's up to them to care about it or not. But at least we can say that we put it in front of them and that they know the picture of what's going on. Because my son didn't deserve to die. He wasn't perfect, but he was unarmed. He was at his brother's house. And this rogue SWAT officer wasn't even on the scene. The officers were waiting for the crisis intervention team to come. But this officer heard it on the radio. He wanted to be a hero. He had already killed people before the state police. He was a unilateral hire, which means they didn't do any kind of evaluations on him at all. And of course, he's still working to this day. And guess what? They're having a shooting contest for the police force here in September. And the person who killed my son is going to be representing APD in the shooting contest. Isn't that just a wonderful thing to know, huh? So that's the things that family members have to go through, In that situation with my family and the other families here in Albuquerque, situations in Israel that, that they know is going on and they really can't do anything about it. So I'll close in saying that my son was a good boy. He was only 22 years old when he died. I carry him next to my heart every day. Every day he's next to my heart. And I appreciate you people listening, and I appreciate you people going out and, telling the story about what goes on here in Albuquerque, because I could stay up here for hours telling you, the things I've learned in my past 3.5 years in this struggle. I won't call it a fight. It's a struggle. And it's a goal. It's like a challenge, all right? It's a challenge that we will make a difference. Thank you.
Hate to do this to you, Mike. Anybody have any questions for Mike?
Any questions?
I just want to say you've already made a difference. You've already made a difference.
Mike, I have one question. What is the shooting, who's sponsoring that shooting contest?
I think it's the NRA. Yeah. And I'm going to be there with some signs, believe me,
Good.
I mean, like I said, the struggle hasn't stopped for me. And, you know, but see, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to inform you. A lot of you people didn't know that, right? Well, now you do.
When is it, Mike?
It's I don't know the exact dates. It's in the middle of September, right? September 19th? 13th through the 19th. Okay, and it's up there at that shooting range up there at the volcanoes.
And it's a national competition.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I'm glad I was able to inform the people who didn't know about it. And, you know, you can tell your family members about it, you know, and maybe we can, you know, do something about it, about letting them know that we don't appreciate them being here, you know, especially in Albuquerque with all the negative publicity. The New York Times article, did you hear about that recently? You know, I mean, you know, it's, you know, I love this city, you know, and when we need our police